It's kind of weird for me to come out and say that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is now a nostalgic title because it really does feel like this game just came out. I played it again on the Switch. I played it again recently on the Wii U. I've played it several times over the years, and yet for some reason, every single time it feels like a brand new experience. And I've done several playthroughs now, but like I don't know if it's just the vibe of the game or what, but like in a lot of ways this probably is the best 3D Mario game ever produced. Let's be real. Like nonstop 10 out of 10 content all the way through, culminating in like one of the greatest final levels in all of video games. Like beating the perfect run makes you a true Mario fan, in my mind. And honestly, like playing the game again has really made me think about like how this game was received back at when it first came out, and it's made me nostalgic for that period. So I thought I'd make a brief video talking about it because I've been talking about this on stream actually quite a lot. Like how much I love Mario Galaxy 2, how it's one of my favorite Wii games, how I vastly prefer it over Mario Galaxy 1. Like there's a lot of like I tend to talk a lot about my personal experiences with Galaxy 2, but I don't really talk about the common mindsets of Galaxy 2 because I do think in between Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 coming out, that was when I stopped paying attention to game journals. It's when I stopped visiting forums. It's when I stopped talking to other people about video games because I realized that these people were completely retarded and didn't know the first thing what they were talking about what they were talking about. Like Mario Galaxy 2 when it came out was written off as an expansion pack. It was said to not be a real full game. It was said to be like disappointing, underwhelming. We would have preferred a new game. It was just written off and ignored in spite of being a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I remember going to the store and seeing it on store shelves and being shocked, like because I had not heard about it coming out. I had not read about it. Nobody I knew was talking about it. Mario Galaxy 2 was on store shelves and I had no idea. So I remember like, I didn't get it right away. I remember I had to wait a little bit because I wasn't sure how much I couldn't afford it. Yeah. So I couldn't afford it. I got the money together. It took a while. I went back, picked the game up, bought it. And it really, getting it home and playing it again was like a wildly different experience than Mario Galaxy 1. Because Mario Galaxy was written like Mario Galaxy was supposedly the only good Wii game and a masterpiece and a game of the year contender. And I came away from it thinking it wasn't that good, as good as 64 and as Sunshine. I felt that I really missed like the movement mechanics of those games. I didn't like the more of the 2D style focus on like platforming challenges. I just wasn't as impressed with Mario Galaxy as I was with 64 back in the day. Like that was a feeling that I pretty explicitly remember throughout, especially when I beat the final boss for the first time and how easy it was to get all 120 stars. I I found myself like somewhat underwhelmed by it. So, I was always kind of confused by the narrative that it was the only good game on Wii in 2007 because by that point I had like Super Paper Mario and Metroid Prime 3, both of which I think left a far bigger impact on me at the time. Um, so I beat those games. I and I just had this like, you know, went into this like mindset of just like not throughout like a lot of 2009 and 2010, I wasn't playing a ton of video games. I was kind of moved away from the hobby. I was pursuing other interests. I was, trying to get my career on track. I was trying to fix the life I was born into. And so I wasn't playing a lot of video games. So, like that period of like 2009 2010 is really odd because I remember like other M coming out and like taking it back and like playing it and like that being a huge disappointment, one of the worst weekends of my life, to be honest with you. And um mu- um Super Mario Galaxy 2, the thing that I wasn't looking forward to turned out to be like the way better experience. And to me, that was kind of like a wake up call as to like where the industry was going, where like the vast majority of the population game journals included, were not playing the best games. They were not talking about the best games. And as such, they were not discussing the best games. They were not talking about Mario Galaxy 2. So, of course, going forward, I became more interested in the Wii. Over the next 4 or 5 years, I started collecting a bunch of Wii titles that I had missed out on, including games like The Last Story, Pandora's Tower, Xenoblade Chronicles, Wario Land Shake It, Elebits, Excite Truck, and Excite Bots. Like, like there were just No More Heroes 1 and 2. I believe Resident Evil 4. No, I think I got that before. Um, but yeah, all these like Wii games, like over like the next several years, were some of the best gaming experiences I ever had, honestly. Like there were so many fun, original, like exciting like games on Wii that just went completely under the radar. To the point where even now I still feel like there's quite a few I would like to go back and play some more. But my mindset, going into this, like looking back on it, is that like Super Mario Galaxy 2 was that generation's equivalent of Tears of the Kingdom, in which it's a far better game on the same hardware that's written off because of casual fans just writing off or looking too similar and being more of the same. Like, yeah, more of the same of the best game ever made. Like, it's basically just Pretendos being Pretendos. And I think it's very interesting seeing where Galaxy 2 is now, because at the moment, it's selling more than Mario Galaxy on the eShop. That's because Galaxy 1 was released on the 3D All-Stars collection like 5 years ago. But, the simple fact of the matter is, 15 years later, after all that damage control and all of that hatred and all of that, just like all that coping and seething about the Wii, like this is the end result, is that Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are best sellers on the eShop, in spite of like the industry's best efforts at like drumming up controversy around them. I can guarantee you that a lot of people never even got to play Galaxy 2 because of just how ignored it was by the industry at large. Outside of core fans, I'm sure a lot of people have never even finished it. So this might be one of the most significant Mario releases in recent memory, because this is a game that never really got any traction as a classic, that was kind of written off, ignored, that was said to be not as good as the first game. But in reality, for those of us who have actually played it, the game is such a radical improvement that you can't really look past it. Like once you play both, I find it very difficult to believe that anybody would ever prefer the original Galaxy unless you really love Rosalina. Uh, Galaxy 2 is just so far beyond pretty much what any other Mario 2D 3D Mario game has accomplished. It really is like the high point of the entire franchise for me. Like this is a game that every time I come back to, I'm just blown away by the quality of it. The visuals, the action, the gameplay, the platforming, the creativity. Like it's shocking how many like Mario trends kind of originated in Galaxy 2. Like we're always seeing those puzzles that flash between red and blue like lights. You know, pretty staple Mario thing today, but Galaxy 2 I think is what kind of formulated the concept and made it like so iconic. Like it's such an interesting simple challenge, and yet it completely reinvents like Mario as a whole. Spinning is like kind of a crutch in the original Galaxy, but in Galaxy 2 it can work against you, and it's such a brilliant evolution. And I think that's why Galaxy 2 works so well, is that like Galaxy 1 worked because of the novelty and the creativity and the visuals and the charm, and Galaxy 2 just took those concepts and just expanded on them to the point where it's such a radical evolution of what we saw from the original Galaxy. It's hard not to see it as an improvement. And that's kind of my opinion, is that why exactly was this game written off and ignored to the extent that it was? When The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword came out, like that was declared one of the worst Zelda games ever made and a huge failure and proof that like Skyrim was the future of video games. And at that point, I just kind of laughed and shook my head. And, lo and behold, Breath of the Wild is made and stomped Skyrim without even trying, and Tears of the Kingdom after that. So, we've kind of seen like the end result of these downplayed Nintendo games. When nobody talks about Super Mario Galaxy 2, 15 years later, it has become a bestseller on the eShop and a beloved all-time classic.